Hi folks, Brooke Bach here with you today. I'm a member of the 2016 ICE Resin Design team, and today I'm coming to you from my greenhouse, which is actually more of a creative space than a growing space. But today I'm going to share with you a project that I'm really excited about. I used vintage book pages to make bezels with ICE resin. So I hope you'll take a few moments and watch some different tips that will help you make these. Have a great day. So the project I shared with you earlier this week was making bezels using old book pages. I usually pick up books, especially like Reader's Digest books, at the library book sales or yard sales. The Reader's Digest ones people practically give to you if they can find a home for them. So that's one I usually pick up, especially if they're damaged, to use for projects like this. Some of the bezels I made are backless bezels and the hole goes clear through. Most of the ones that don't have a leather cover are like that. And then I also did some that had a leather cover. And the leather cover, I used the ice resin to glue the bezel right down to the leather, and also the hole doesn't go the whole way through these. It only goes part way, and then that allows you to put something else in as a background image. For example, this one I put in a piece of vintage sheet music, and you can see it in there. This one I actually took one of the images from one of the image packs and punched it out and then added it so that it looked like a small portrait cameo silhouette kind of thing in there. So that's a really easy variation on this project. Okay, today instead of giving you an actual step-by-step, I wanted to share a few simple things that you can do that'll help make this project go simpler. I used just a ruler to figure out how wide I wanted my sheets and rip them from my book. If you like a really straight, crisp edge, I would suggest you use a paper cutter or scissors. I like a raggedy edge, so that's how I did mine. So that's my first tip, and it gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can do. Also, when it comes to punching your book pages, you have a couple of options. I told you about the option of making yourself a template for how big you wanted it and ripping all your pages to match this and then punching the hole. This one uses a bigger hole punch, but I wanted to do some smaller ones. And a little trick I want to share with you is what I did to make sure that I essentially get the holes all in the same spot. Now, if you're a really precise person, you can mark them in the middle. I am not. I'm a more eyeball it and go with it kind of gal. So what I did was I took one of the book pages and just folded it up, and what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to create a little barrier, which is where my pages are going to slide into. And then when I go to slide my pages in, they're all going to be punched relatively the same spot. So it slid in there. I use my fingers on either side to sort of line it up. I'm going to punch it. My little circles are going to come out. And then the other benefit to this is you can, if it doesn't fall out, you can use this to wiggle it free. So after you punch all your pages, the other trick is, now for some of my bezels, I did them the whole way through, but I like the half bezel idea where some of the pages are punched and some of them aren't. You can use images from the image packs. I have the newer one and the older one, and that way if you want to do a picture, you could use an actual picture of somebody you love. I also used vintage music from hymnals from churches. A lot of times if you go to church sales, you can find them for relatively cheap. And I love the look of the old pages. To me, it's exactly what I want. So what you're going to do then is decide what you want your top page to look like. And I'm going to use the system here of using a little guide paper to put it where I want it. And then I'm going to put it on here. And then I'm going to use my handy dandy packing tape. And if you don't use this for resin already, it's a nifty little trick. I'm going to use it on the back, and it helps keep, I like my things to be mobile, so I'm going to stick it to the back, make sure it's tight, and that way whenever I pour my resin into my bezels, they won't seep through the whole way. And I can also move them if I have to, which is not ideal, but sometimes you have to. Then I'm just going to clip it with a couple little clamps I got at the hardware store. I would sandwich whatever I want in here and then pour my resin in. You'll notice it's a little wiggly. It works out okay for this first level though, because what you're basically trying to do is soak the resin into the edges of your bezel here so that it seals it. And then when you get done with that, you end up taking these off. You use a little piece of sponge, oh, there it is. A little piece of sponge that I cut off to do your resin, and then you go back and make sure you've sealed everything else. This project is not a hard project, but it does take several different steps and stages to let the resin cure in between. So I recommend that you give it about a week to work on them. It's not something you can do just one pour and you're done. The other little tip I wanted to give you is when you're pouring and measuring resin into your cups. And of course this isn't my tip. This is a tip I got from somebody else. One of the best things you can do is mark your cup with a little Sharpie where your fill lines are so that you don't overfill, or sometimes they're hard to see on the side. One of my other tips is I do prefer to wear gloves. I don't really like getting sticky. I don't mind it with paint, but with resin it seems like I wear it for days. So a couple of gloves keep me from getting all sticky. And then my other favorite tip is to use baby wipes. Any brand will do, to wipe up any spilled resin, any resin you might have gotten on your hands, and then also to clean out your cups and the reusable stir sticks. So I hope that all these little tips will help you not only with this resin project, but with whatever other resin projects you may be thinking of trying down the road.